Parade of grafters.
So I was basically like nocturnal for, I think like I'd sort of finish working sometimes at sort of like 6, 7 in the morning.
Where was this?
Well, so like it sort of started when I was doing sound engineering stuff. Cause
Were
like
you down at Boom?
no, so I were at,
Oh, Chunk. No.
yeah, well yeah I was, but that were a bit later. So like
Okay.
I were doing so I had like Royal Park Cellars. I had
and
that for.
don't forget, bottle up there if you want.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I had Royal Park Cellars for about 7 years, and then I ended up at the Well for a couple of years. Which
When were you at Royal Park Cellars then?
that was from like bloody hell. So it was from when I was 21 for like 7
Was
years.
it like
so
2009-ish?
Yeah.
I think
it
I
would've been
remember
around
you.
there. Yeah, I used to have dead long hair. It all fell out and whatever. And
I was going to say one of my old bands, Antares.
I definitely did sound for you like a few times.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I remember
'cause-
playing there, and I remember there was a new guy vibe to the place, and it was like, the sound guy is running this place now, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so like we had it like, yeah, basically because like that Steve Kine guy had it for
Yes.
years, yeah, and then he like I don't know what happened there, but he didn't have it, and then it was closed for ages, and then like some people that I knew took it on, and then asked me to get involved with it, and then like they just sort of like gradually fell by the wayside, and I just sort of ended up having it for, yeah, it was about 7 years in the end.
What do you mean by having it? You were like sort of...
It was just like I was just sort of dealing with all the emails and like doing most
All
of the
the
sound
bookings
and stuff, and like it was kind of weird because it was like, I think because it was like a chain pub upstairs, people assumed it was like run by them, but it was like they didn't give us anything, like you know they didn't like we sort of pieced together all the equipment and stuff, and like sort of generally like tried to hold it together like sort of in the face of whatever they were doing.
Yeah.
It was pretty fun, but like it was definitely like falling the fuck apart by the time that it was done, because we didn't have any money, you know what I mean?
It used to be
just like,
such a furnace in there as well during the summer.
Oh, mate,
Some of them gigs when it would be like proper packed out, and people trying to get out the back door, and
there was just like this never-ending list of rules that the landlords used to like put in place that got like gradually more like
yeah,
weird.
I remember, yeah.
Like he ended up like you know that math rock band from Japan called Light.
Called Light.
Light, yeah,
No.
LITE. They played like I think they played at the Brood a couple of times, and like they ended up playing down there on one of the Brainwash festivals. But anyway, like the old landlord like.
It was just too loud.
Just like, well, no, it wasn't that. He took a dislike to where they parked their van, so he just like locked their van away for like 6 hours and like refused to give them their van back. They're just like, you can't do that. And it was just like, it's my pub, I'll do what I want. We were just like, yeah, just like it was a pretty wild time, but it was it was a pretty like. I sort of miss it sometimes, you know, like it was, it was a bit of a shithole and stuff, and like there was that drain that always smelled like soup as well, and like I don't
around the back area.
Like there was never soup in there, but it always inexplicably smelled.
It was
like soup.
I fucking even looking back on that, it was so cool. It was like that little backstage area. It was thoroughly DIY, but it had that touch of something else for having that little space around the side.
Yeah,
the little band space. It was
like that was supposed to be a theatre for a bit. I think it even was a little like indie theatre for a little bit.
Okay.
Which was like pretty cool. Like, I don't think they lasted very long there because like again like I think they had some sort of falling out with the landlord. But like and then like a bunch of my bands used to use that room just to practice in, which is mad really if you think about it, because it was literally just like the floor underneath a pub where people were actually like sitting and drinking. Yeah. And we'd be like there, you know, like all afternoon, just like clattering it. So I'm not surprised we got booted out in the end, to be honest. Like, you know, this is how it goes. But yeah.
Then to the Well.
Yeah. So the other guy who I used to play with in Cuda, he was sort of taking charge of sound at the Well. I think he had it for about a year. And then he met someone whilst we were on tour in Finland and moved over there, and sort of like he's still there now.
Oh, cool.
So then I took on the Well, and I think I was there for a couple of years. The Well was sick. I really miss
the Well. Was an absolute institution in Leeds. It was like even just everyone's played there. Everyone's just got all of them fucking memories from back in the day. It was
especially just being a younger and just like. you know, you just go down like just to see. You know, you wouldn't know that there are anything on. You just go, and then it would just be like, all right, there'll be like, I don't know, knuckle dust or someone would be playing, and I'm like, yeah, and then that'll be it.
Paulie
like,
P's inexplicably somehow booked Knuckle Dust, and
yeah, that's it. Yeah, or like a 52 band all day or some sort. Jesus Christ, yeah.
I'm trying to remember, was it the Canal Fests that he used to do?
Yeah, bloody hell, yeah.
So he did them at Eiger as well, didn't he, towards the end? But yeah, the Well was played so many gigs down there. It's I think it's one of those places where like you forgot to get nervous because it was so familiar. Like going to the Fenton.
Yeah.
It was you kind of like you'd rock up, and by the time you'd got everything out of the van and sorted, it was almost like you'd play catch up with everyone before you knew it. You were on stage, and it was just, you know, it would obviously be over in a flash because it's a gig.
Yeah.
And then I think it's that second home element.
Yeah, definitely. It was like, I think like the last iteration of it.
The Well.
Of the Well. Like there was like it ended up with like it was like the landlord who had the Harrogate Blues Bar, Blues Bar ended up taking it on. Yeah. And like I think everybody were a bit unsure how it was going to be, but to be fair, he was well sick. Like, you know, like we'd have like these big because like the OG like Outbreak Fests were on down there.
Really?
And like so like I think the first two were there, and like you'd literally just like all the gear would just get shredded. I mean, because of course it does. Like, you know, there's literally just like people just like chucking themselves all over the place, like kids just smashing themselves in the face with microphones, carrying on whatever. And like at the end of the weekend, it would be like, right, we're like 10 mics down, we've got one lead left or whatever. And like you'd tell him, and then just like the next Tuesday, they'd just practically be gift wrapped like just on the sound desk, like just all there replaced, sorted. It was like first time I've ever had anybody that's run a venue that's like that on it, with like just making sure that the place is like got decent gear in it and stuff. But
I guess he knows what his bread and butter was.
That's it, yeah. Because I don't think a lot of, you know, like sort of like pub landlords and stuff really appreciate just like how, you know, like how important it is to have, you know, good shit going on in your place.
Just a solid promoter. And as you say, it's like having a decent sound guy in the mix as well. It's so Kuda, was that KHUDA?
Yeah.
I remember them. I never saw you, but I remember it. So you guys got pretty big then, I guess, to be touring Europe.
I don't know about that. I think we
not big, but you know, like within our circles of just, if you get into Europe, it means that you've probably done a few UK tours, might have a release under your belt.
You know what? It was kind of like,
or was it the DIY circuit?
I think it was just like one of those things where like we would. So like I joined just before all the sort of European touring sort of happened. So he had a drummer. So it was 2-piece. He had a drummer before. He wasn't really up for the travelling as much. And then like I sort of joined, and we did like one little weekend in Europe around that. Ended up being called Incubate Festival. You know, it's like the sort of sister festival to Roadburn. It's like
no.
It's like it's in Tilburg and whatever. And like we went out for like 3 days, and we were just like, oh, actually, like this is well good. So then the next time we went out 10 days. Yeah. And the time after that we went out 2 weeks, and then I think the time after that it was like 90.
Nice.
And we were just like, I mean, we didn't manage to get to like, I think out of the 90 dates we had booked, I think we managed to get to like 65 or 70, because we had this van that just like broke down comedically like every 5 seconds. So like I'm not gonna lie, I wouldn't be able to do that again. But so like
that's the thing.
We just sort of did a lot of that. You know,
there's so much about back then that just you wouldn't do now. It's
it was mad.
Yeah, like I remember we would hire a transit van and just like fill it with mattresses and duvets and just you know, like just doing it the illegal way of just cabs, mattresses and then like 5 of us in the back of a transit van just going up and down the UK. And it's like you think on it now, and it's like all it would take is just one harsh stop, and you're all fucking dead.
That's it.
But it's any number of things of just I wouldn't do that now. Sharing a bed with like 2 other dudes in the band, and it's like I can't be doing that. I'd rather have just the couch or the floor.
It was like and like, you know, and especially like just, you know, the amount of like boozing and stuff that goes on. Like I think on that 90-day thing, like we were definitely like pissed every day for the entire time. Like I felt insane after like 2 months of it. I can remember like it's like looking at myself in the like catching myself in the mirror at this squat in Germany and just being like, who the fuck is that guy? It was just like, it was proper wild-eyed and like, haven't slept for like more than, 4 hours a night for like 2 months.
I've only ever done like 2 weeks, and
that can almost be worse sometimes though as well, because you don't pace yourself as much. You know what I mean? Like, you're literally just like.
I think there was maybe a little bit better pacing in that one, but it was that thing where we got to the 2-week mark, and I just thought I could do more than this.
Yeah.
And so when you said 90, it was like, that's a bit of a fucking jump.
It was a bit, yeah.
So did you book that yourself then, or was that jumping on other people's tours, or around festivals, or?
It was just sort of like a little bit of everything, really. So I mean, like so, it was the other guy that was like dead good at booking gigs. He was just like, I think he was just like a really nice guy, and like,
if you're a 2-piece as well, I suppose it makes you very easy.
Pretty easy, yeah. I mean, like we didn't even need a PA, really. You know, like in fact, actually, I think by the end of it, we sort of preferred not having one, because like
gives you that.
I'd just like
certain something as
like
well.
Hit it really hard, and he'd just, he had like
big lungs.
Well, I mean, because there were no vocals or all like that. So
okay.
yeah, we literally just like, we had like 2 4x12s and like this 8x10 that we used to carry around.
Yeah.
And then like just sort of like Jucifer style, like literally just like turn up with as many amps as you can get, and then just like sort of like crack away at that, really. So like, yeah, we ended up playing in some like really odd places. Like played at like this like in the middle of this basketball court, like at a squat in Spain, like in a squatted university building and stuff. And they were just like, they were just like, oh, do you need the stage? We were just like, mate, we don't even need a room. And they were just like, right, basketball court then. So we just like ended up playing out in the middle of there, and like.
You play some of the sickest squats in Europe as well. I think that's one of the things that's really fallen out in the UK.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they just don't last. Like they don't last. They just get evicted, and like they get. It's really sad, because I feel like there's so many sick spaces, like especially in Germany and stuff like that. Where like
Germany's like the squat kings of Europe, it feels.
Well, it's like, I think even like it's generally sort of
Spain, Italy, also everywhere's got it, but like
but like I think it's appreciated that like generally they'll like look after the building, because they want it to continue to be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like you sort of go to these places, and it's just like they're kind of like semi-legal or whatever, and like some of them even get like get some sort of help, like from sort of local councils and stuff like that, depending on what.
I think that's a big thing as well, like with European countries, that they have all of these culture grants where they can, I guess, just as you say, like throw cash to whatever.
Yeah, it just sort of supplement stuff, doesn't it? Just, like I think, I sort of feel like that's, it's a bit of a shame that not as many. I don't think as many people from these next generations are really going to experience touring in that way anymore, just
there's
because,
a lot. I
mean, because obviously the old Brexit thing, and
and
like, and also I just think like it just doesn't quite work as sort of easily as it did. At least it doesn't seem like it does anyway.
Petrol price is a big one as well, though.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? Yeah,
it's just like, I mean,
like travel's mad, like
van
rentals, like
van rental, everything.
I mean?
But like when we used to try and get bands from the mainland to the UK, and it was like the Americans just, they would need the big money, and just anyone coming across, because it was just that much more. You go to Germany, and it's like just massive guarantees, all within small areas.
They like properly look after you,
Oh Jesus, yeah.
You'd end up, like I've still got mates that I talk to like semi-regularly, who I met during those times. You just had like really nice times, just like sitting up shooting the shit, and just like sort of carrying on and whatever. It was a cool thing to do. Like I don't think I could.
But you're still in a band though, Thank, isn't it?
Yeah. So I've got
just one band.
Two at the moment. Yeah. So it's like I've got.
So after all of that.
I know. Yeah. I don't. Yeah.
But I think it's also that thing when you get to this stage as well, and you've got that perspective. You go into it knowing that, or even saying that you're going to do it differently. It's like, this isn't going to be the, like that thing of when you're in your 20s, you accept every gig. It's like you kind of say yes before you've asked everyone else, because you know that they'll be cool with it, and it can be anywhere, it can be any time. Going into something else now, I'd be like, right, just so it's said, I ain't doing shit on a weekday. Just it would be like a whole roster of like, you got to give me X weeks notice. And I guess for yourself, Thank, is that kind of what you're thinking, or is it just like, footloose?
To be fair, like, so Freddie, who sorts basically like he plays like the band dad in that band, like is just like really organised. So like, which to be honest suits me down to the ground, because obviously with my work, like I can take off as much time as I want,
Yeah.
but it can't be like suddenly like next Wednesday I'm not able to work. You know what I mean? Because it's not really fair. Like, you know, if I've got people, because like I've got a bit of a waiting list now, so it's like I can't really have people having their appointment cancelled for me to then be like, but I can see you in like 6 months' time, and then like, you know what I mean? It's just like I just can't really do that. But because Freddie's so organised, we've pretty much figured out what we're going to be doing for like the next 6 months.
Okay.
Already, and it's just like it's all sort of set and ready,
You
and
seem to be
everyone's
getting a bit of,
taking their time off and stuff.
But you
and
seem to be getting a bit of a profile around you, so it's sort of, I guess when you get to the profile stage and you don't have to kind of scrap and grab at whatever gigs you get offered at.
Yeah, I mean, like to be fair to them as well, like, you know, they put a lot of work in. You know, because I've only been doing that since like November now.
Okay.
Yeah, like they had again, like they had another drummer
Yeah.
who like couldn't do it anymore. And then like so because I was doing Cattle with Lewis, who's in Thank, and then that split up at the beginning of I think it's like second lockdown maybe. So he knew that I was at a bit of a loose end, and then like they were just like, oh shit, like now we've not got a drummer, and then it was like, right, well that's pretty easy because I was still sulking that. But like my main band had sort of
seriously, it's like seeing the pictures of you. It's you look to be just the sickest of drummers.
Oh, give it. Keep saying it, please.
It's one of them. It's, you know, but you know what? There's handfuls of people where it's like, yeah, I'd do a band with that dude. It's like you're the guy that if I was running a perfect roster of a local band, I'm having him on drums, I'm having them on guitar. You know what I mean? It's like,
go red. Stop it.
Oh,
Stop
but
it.
there's just some people, because you've been in the game for a minute now.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, like, I'm 37. Well, I was 37 last Thursday, and I think
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much. And like, I think I played like my first gig that wasn't something to do with a school, like when I was like 15 or 16 or something.
Yeah.
And then like, yeah, that's sort of been it really. Like,
it's always been like the sort of.
I don't really know what to do without it. You know what I mean? Like, I've had like little periods where I've been like, all right, you know, I need to concentrate on other stuff, and it'll be like 2 months, and I'll just be like, just like feel like one of my limbs is missing. It's just like, I don't know. I think it's just, you know, like
needing the release.
Yeah, I think, you know, and especially just as like, you know, because I've got a very long attention span and stuff, you know, so like going and sitting in a pub, like even when I did drink, like I didn't find it that interesting, you know what I mean? So you know, having something to go and look at or something to go and do for 20 minutes, and then like, you know, like, and then sort of, you know, you kind of got the excitement of that to then chat about afterwards and whatever. It's just like, I feel like, yeah, like kind of doing music stuff's just like really integral to me, being able to have like a kind of meaningful social life, you know what I mean?
I'm kind of connecting the dot between that ethic and the lack of sort of 4/4 and straight down the line music that you've been doing.
Right, yeah.
It's always seemed like pretty fucking irreverent, noisy, kind of fringe type stuff.
Right, yeah. No, I think you're right. Like, I don't know. Like, I've always just sort of enjoyed not doing exactly what you're expected to do. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. You know, I'd love a bit of 4/4, but it's sort of my 4/4 where it's probably not quite 4/4, or like it's just a bit wrong. Yeah. But like, I don't know. Like, you know, it's
So what's the other band then?
Oh, so that's like a dead new thing. So that's just me and it's my mate Dan, who plays in. Have you seen that band called June? But it's spelled like DVNE.
No.
They're like this, like they're like based in Edinburgh, and they're like, it's like sort of prog metal-y stuff. But
cool.
so he was originally from Leeds, and then he moved up to Scotland, like I think for university. So he's like 1 or 2 years older than me. And then he's still doing that band, and they like tour like a bunch, and they're doing all sorts of mad stuff. But yeah, like we're just like doing a little sort of two-piece.
What's the other band he's in?
So that's June.
Oh, sorry,
his
June,
band, yeah. And then the band that we're doing together, it's called Grub Nap. It's just sort of like kind of two-piece, sort of like sludgy, kind of just like both of us doing vocals, just like baritone, guitar, and drums.
Okay.
And like kind of like, I guess sort of like meth drinkery, kind of like maybe like a bit sort of Love Sex Machine, if you know them, like just sort of weird. It's like it's fun. Like we haven't done
irreverent noise, you might say.
Yeah, lovely irreverent noise. Like, but yeah, we've just like recorded like a little EP and stuff, and we're just like finishing all that off.
Oh, cool.
Like, I should be getting the masters back like this week. So I don't. It's one of those things where like both of us are really busy, so it's kind of just we're
It's
just
a
sort
thing.
of doing it like as and when we
Yeah,
can.
as I said, it's one of them things where you when you get to this stage, you're about doing the bands that sort of suit your lifestyle rather than fitting your lifestyle around the band.
Yeah, that's it, and it's just you
Yeah.
know like you know, and I think especially because he's got his own sort of, I think it's like a sort of web development company that he's like that's his thing that he does like solo, but he's like dead good at it. And then obviously like just like tattooing, if you let it will just like swallow your entire life up. So like you know like yeah, like but it works pretty well doing things on that sort of casual basis now.
Yeah.
Really, like I mean the only thing is like I haven't actually managed to play drums like for the last couple of weeks, but I've been away quite a lot as well. So like,
Yeah, you got to wait.
I'll figure it out.
Barcelona this past weekend, was it?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was Madrid. Like we went to like,
sick.
but we were supposed to be off to go see Rage Against the Machine, like play
But then they
this
cancelled
festival, and then
yeah.
Zach De La Rocha had a gammy leg, I think.
Yeah.
And then they like cancelled the entire thing, and then the festival itself got cancelled.
Oh shit.
But like we couldn't get a return on the flights and the hotel and stuff, so we were just like, all right, let's go there. It was nice.
Yeah.
It was weird. I've never really like done the whole like touristy thing before, you know, like.
Do you know what? Whenever I've all my holidays have always been tours and things, so it's like it's when I get to, I like to embrace being a shit tourist.
Yeah.
It's a real, whenever I get to go to London and I'm just not in rush into a band type thing. Like whenever I've gone there, it was like, oh, I'm gonna see the sights, walk around, like be a tourist, because I've never been a fucking tourist in these, like in life. It feels like it's a nice thing to switch off and do.
Well, because like I think like touring's sick and stuff, but I mean it's really good in a sort of social aspect, and you know like you definitely learn a lot more about people than I think you would do if you were just wandering around looking at like big old buildings and stuff. But you know like unless you've really got your drives short, you're probably not going to get much time to actually go and look at anything. And like you know like there's like I've been to Madrid a few times over the years, but like never really looked around it. So like like this time we just like tried to smash out as much of that as we could do over the weekend. It was dead nice. Like it was really sunny as well, which was like, definitely
not what you need when you're coming back to this.
Oh man, it was shitting it down when we got back to Manchester. It was just like couldn't believe it. And then we had like a load of shit. We done that meet and greet thing, you know, with the parking. It's like this thing where you like somebody comes and takes your car away basically.
Okay.
But like we didn't really think about it, but like when we got back, like we like called the guys to be like, right, yeah, bring the car back, and they were just like, oh yeah, we'll be there in like half an hour. We were just like, oh, all right. Went on the Facebook page, and it was literally just like post after post of people just being like, this company's a scam. They joyride my car around Manchester and like.
Oh,
like,
so you kind of like essentially kind of hire it out to them in some sort of way.
It's like they basically come and take your car and put it in a parking place.
It's making me think of that scene in Ferris Bueller when they.
Yeah,
you know, that film
it's just
when
like a really bad idea. Like, but we didn't. It just looked official. So like, we got the car back. It wasn't a problem. But we literally just stood there in the rain, just like.
It's not a cool thing when you kind of it's not a cool thing when you
like,
look at their Facebook and it's like, oh, okay, shit.
Oh mate, we were babbing it.
For that half an hour,
Yeah, there was this one guy who was saying like, oh yeah, like I left my dash cam on, and like they were like doing donuts around McDonald's car park, and like I come back and all my CDs have been robbed, and like I don't know if any of that were true, but it's just like so I don't know what I was on about that.
Oh shit. But yeah, Chunk, when did you end up there then?
Oh, so buddy, I'm so bad with years, but like so we had it for six. It was like we had it for 6 years total, and we lost it 2 years ago.
It was in the city centre that moved to Meanwood Road, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was on like Sharon Street, which is like, you know, that big building at the bottom of town with the Space Needle thing on the top of it. It was like behind there, but we were only there for a year, and then it was on Meanwood Road for like 5 or 6 years. I think it was 6. I feel like it was 6. Quite a long time. We had it for quite a long time, but
I think I went there twice, but I don't remember it just because I think it's one of them things, like you say about the whole drinking thing, that like that whole phase of my life just feels like a lot of blank for the sake of just, and I think also that thing of there was so much repetition to, like, as I say, going back to the Fenton playing the gigs and whatever it would be, it all sort of started to blur into one. I'd definitely been to, I remember it being quite rabbit warren-y.
So there was the kind of venue bit upstairs, and then there were like 3 practice rooms on the top and a big storage room, and then like 3 underneath. To be fair, like it was a good building and stuff. It was just like, yeah, it just didn't last the lockdowns. Like there was just like we couldn't do it. Like we wouldn't, like they didn't really give us any breathing room with the rent and stuff. And it was just like, you know, so many of the people that were like members there were like on 0-hour contracts and shit like that. And it's just like, you know, like it was like, I think the sort of membership, which was essentially the rent for the building, was like, well, like 40 odd quid a month. It's like quite a lot of money if you don't know what's coming in. So it's just like, you know, we sort of tried to, you know, reason with the landlords, but like they just weren't having it at all. And like, like just, you know, and also at the time that we were supposed to be re-signing for it, you know, like it was just after all the lockdown stuff had happened. It was just like, we didn't know if we were going to be like in it for 6 months or a year or 2 years or whatever, you know. So then it's just like, when you're looking at, you know, $1,500 a month, like building rent, and you're just there just being like, you literally can't use it at all. Like I think during that first lockdown, I'd like occasionally sneak down and play drums by myself when I knew no one was going to be there, and like I literally didn't even see anyone trying to go for like the first couple of lockdowns anyway. I mean, I shouldn't have been going anyway, but also like, you know, I was just like, well,
no, I was super like paranoid that first. I think just for the first 2 weeks, I was like super like, I ain't going anywhere, I ain't doing anything, I'm just being the good boy for once. But it was wild fucking time. But you weren't you tattooing already by when lockdown came around? Yeah,
I was. Yeah, I think I'd been going for about 6 months. Okay. And it was just like, because I've been trying to get into it for years, like, and you know, like just things hadn't quite landed.
So wait, let's just rewind on it. So what were you doing, where were you working at before you went into the tattooing then?
Oh, so I was working freelance doing illustration. Like,
what were the long hours that you were sort of talking about? Just the 6 a.m. type shit?
Oh yeah, so that like I was working like that when I was working freelance basically.
Oh,
like,
okay.
So, I was just like
deadlines.
I was just doing. I mean, I think like just because I didn't have any, you know, like nothing really revolved around anybody else's schedule.
If you don't have
know
a routine,
what I mean?
you just do it when you do it, and if you just find that you do it at night, then you do it at night. I
Yeah,
guess.
that were it. Like, I'd like wake up at like 4 in the afternoon and then like work till like 7, 8 in the morning, and just sort of like.
I guess if the flow takes you, then you've just got to go with it.
You know, like, to be fair as well, it was a bit better doing that sort of stuff during the night as well, because, you know, like basically from about 10 o'clock till 7 o'clock in the morning, like no one's texting you, or messaging you on Facebook or whatever, or like, you know, like popping round. It's just like you actually get unadulterated, you know, 7-8 hours where you can just sit and get shit done. You know what I mean? So I think
so
that's why I just sort
you
of.
were legit like, I'm an illustrator.
Yeah. Like I did that for like 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah. It was good.
How do you even do that?
I don't know. It was just,
you know
like,
what I mean?
It's like, I know
it sounds like the dumbest of questions, but it's like just that thing, the fundamentals of like, I want to draw for a living. How do you find work? How do you price it? How do you make it so that it's a regular enough thing so that you can make ends meet?
Well, I mean, like, I barely made ends meet, but like, but I think it was just one of those things. I think because I've always been like playing in bands and whatever, or like doing sound as well, or had been doing I mean, up to a point I did, but like, so like after, because I stopped doing sound after the cockpit closed down, so I was working there for a bit after the well, and like I worked for the Leeds Tattoo Convention for a couple of years. For my girlfriend's ex-boss, but then like basically after that, I think because I'd sort of been around, you know, like playing in bands and doing sound and stuff, it's just like I just knew just enough people to like have enough coming through, you know what I mean? So like I did actually manage to like I'd always have at least a couple of projects, you know, coming forward, and like it was like the pricing and stuff was like really hard because like obviously coming from a proper like DIY background, like, you know, like
you don't want to.
Well, you can't, like, you know, I'm not charging punk band, like, you know. You know, it even felt like tight asking them for 150 quid for a t-shirt. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't feel right to me ever. Like, but on the other hand, the sort of stuff I were doing, it were like taking me 60-70 hours to draw it. So it was like I had to work a lot for like not a lot, but I did get to just draw for a living. You know what I mean? Like, which, you know, like, I think a lot of people would
It's
would really love that, you know
fuck
what I mean?
yeah, it's the absolute
like,
dream.
I was, you know, I really consider that, like, you know, I was dead lucky to be able to do that. But it was literally just because I'd just been sort of knocking around for ages, you know what I mean? I was just like,
Yeah.
I was just sort of there, and like, you know, like,
Sometimes that's all it takes.
Yeah.
It's just being the guy that people know and that can do the thing. Because when I was looking, I think when I first got to know you, and I was looking through like your profile, obviously, and just recognizing a lot of the work that I'd seen over the years, some of the older flyers as well. And it was, I think, connecting all of those dots as to realizing just how like longer and more, and also how integral, I guess, you were. As I say, like the people that kind of make this scene tick over are like it's the bit players that no one really knows of, and it's the people that are willing to like step up and do a flyer, do a t-shirt design, do a record inlay.
Yeah.
It's that thing of like, you know, it's the unknown casts of fucking thousands that make all of this stuff tick over, and you see the bands as the end result, but you don't know about like the promoter, the sound guy, as you say, the people that work the venues that ensure we got the fresh mics. It's like it's the total everything.
Yeah, it's literally everyone from like, you know, the person like scrubbing the toilets to like, you know, the you know, the people that are even just going to the gigs, you know what I mean? Like none of it, you know. I think that's the sort of the beauty and the difficult thing with the DIY music scene is it's just like, you know, it's this incredibly intricate web of people doing various things that don't always like you know, work with each other, and it's just like, in order for the thing to survive and thrive and to be good, it needs all these things to sort of be in place, and it's incredibly fragile. But it's like when it's, you know, like when it's on, it's like really sick. And like,
it's been
you know,
great.
that's
Talking on that, 'cause it's like I guess the Leeds 6 DIY scene particularly, because you had like the sort of I guess similar to what Thank are doing, the sort of I don't know how you describe it, but the sort of the cops and robbers-esque noise project kind of things, that type of thing. And then there were like obviously the hardcore scene, the crust punk scene, the noise extreme metal stuff that Paulie P was representing. And it was, for a while, they all did seem to kind of spill over in the early 2000s.
It's quite a lot of elbows getting bumped. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like not necessarily everybody would go to everything, but it's just sort of like, you know, there'd be someone that like, you know, plays bass in like, you know, a crusty doom band who is also like, you know, like, I don't know, does the kind of Selfish Table of Noise acts like
but then also just
whatever,
like,
and it's just
but
like,
then you'd have those like incredible mixed bills as well, and just every once in a while you would get that, like, say an All Day where it would touch all of the bases, just because a promoter was trying to kind of consciously make it as diverse as possible. But you had that ability in this area because there were so many people that were doing all of those things. But I think it was that DIY glue that allowed them to bump elbows, because it was, if you didn't have the awareness that everyone was doing it in the same kind of style, you'd just been like, nah, go fuck yourself with your crust nonsense. They're going to be like, they're going to be...
Well, they wouldn't be like that, because it would be like, you know, it'd be their best mate's best mate. You know what I mean? So then it's just like, oh, you know, like, all right, we'll actually give it a go. You know, I think you know, that whole thing sort of does kind of go in peaks and troughs. You know, you get times where it's like, right, everybody in together, and then it all sort of almost gets too big, and then sort of fractures and, you know, turns into smaller scenes again, and then kind of like, it's a bit like the Hokey Cokey, isn't it? It just sort of it kind of does that like every 5 years or so, you know. Like,
I'd like to say I can see it now, but I'm so fucking detached from... I'm trying to get back into the, like, just awareness as to what's happening, get to more gigs and stuff. It feels like there's a definite, like, resurgence of the crust punk stuff in Yorkshire, definitely at the moment. The past couple of years, and this year in particular, feels it's really kind of building to something.
Yeah, there's loads of good like punk bands kicking around,
but also the spaces. Like, I keep hearing about new spots that are kicking off. Even like older spots that I'd no idea about. What's that, Luggall in Sheffield? I had no idea that it was a thing previously, and it's been a sort of rejuvenated recently. That
I think like the Luggall 2 is like now officially, you know, it's like officially moving and going, which is sick, because like I only ever played at the old one once, but it was well good. Like I think like stuff over in Sheff is like really sick, and I think, you know, it's a bit of a crying shame that people in Leeds, or like a lot of people in Leeds, don't often bother making the trip over there because it's like it's so close.
But it's the
and like
complacency.
and there's so much good shit going on there.
There is, but it's that thing of like there's so much going on in Leeds that you just don't.
Yeah.
No one's asked about going anywhere.
That's
Even
it,
like Manchester, it's Leeds is Leeds. It's a strange one, but yeah, it would be nicer if it was. But I think things like as these scenes, I guess, are kind of coming back into the mix. I'm seeing a lot more people saying, "I'm driving to this. Who wants to go?"
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess things like that. Can
Yeah,
kinda
people
help
seem
with
to
it.
be bouncing over a bit more, and like I feel like there's more. I think like people making a conscious effort to like try and book bands from sort of closer local cities because like I think a lot of things will be like, all right, here's a band from London, here's a band from Glasgow, like here's a band from Brighton or whatever, but it's just like, well, yeah, but there's also a very sick band that's like 20 minutes drive away that might as well be 6 hours drive away because no one ever travels in between the two, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
it's
interestingly, and connecting the dots between you and Northern Monk. Because you did a few designs for them, didn't you?
Yeah, that was
Dark and Wild.
I did like their festival T-shirt for a few years on the trot.
Yeah, the Dark and Wild you'd done. I remember that. But just connected to that, I was speaking with Cal at Northern Monk recently about like helping him out with bands for this year's Dark and Wild Fest.
All right, yeah.
And it was, as you say, it's all about like finding. My mind immediately fell on who are the big hitters of the sort of the doom type shit in the UK and seeing if we could bring a bigger act from, say, London or further out. Yeah. But then it was that thing of who's local, who's doing this stuff at the moment. And there was a lot of stuff, and it was really eye-opening just to see how many fucking sick bands there are at the moment. Yeah,
I feel like, because like we're in this sort of weird kind of not no man's land because there's loads of stuff going on, but I feel like, at least from where I'm sort of sat, it feels like things haven't quite caught up to the kind of velocity that they were at before all the, before all the stuff happened.
Yeah.
And it's just, it is gradually coming back. Like you said, there are a couple of new spots sort of turning up. There's like new one in Armley that's like looking really sick.
Yeah.
I've only sort of caught half a gig down there, but it's it's going to be boss, that place. And like obviously like sort of Wharf's still well sick, and like stuff going on at Boom and whatever, which is great. But yeah, like like it doesn't feel like it's with quite this, like it doesn't seem as regular as it was. Like I swear, like 5 years ago it was like any night of the week there'd be 3 gigs that you'd sort of want to go to.
Yeah.
And you'd sort of have to choose between them. And like, maybe that was too much as well, like the other way, but it certainly kind of feels to me at the moment like there's only sort of a handful of things on a month, still.
I think there's been a lot of drop off of people, like the bands that didn't make it through the lockdown, I guess. A lot of people that probably just cut their losses and was like, well, I'm just gonna. I mean, me personally, I kind of turned my back on the bar scene and just went to the office world. Because it was the bar. Nobody knew what was going to happen.
Too unreliable, eh?
Yeah, like, and I'm in my 40s now, so I got to think about paying the bills, and it's like I can't be. Yeah, so I kind of had to run back to the reliance of an office job. I feel like a knobhead, but whatever. But I can't help but feel that a lot of people probably sacked off their bands and their sort of hobby aspects of things because it wasn't fucking viable for 2 years.
Well, yeah, because you don't, like no one knew what they were going to be allowed to do. You know what I mean? Like, I still know people now who are nervous about going to gigs and whatever. There's this sort of weird thing now where if a gig's sold out, like people who bought tickets will not go because it's sold out. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like I've noticed that a couple of times. Like sold out shows.
Yeah,
and you'll go and it'll be like half full, and it's just like, oh shit, yeah, it's because there's still this sort of like
that fucking fly is annoying me.
It's all right.
We're gonna take a break to kill a fly.
Just like caught me by surprise.
But I think no, I want him. I think that thing of everyone's kind of got to return to it at their own pace.
Yeah,
and I know a lot of people that have were a lot more affected by it. I was kind of potentially in the middle, I guess, of it was sort of following the rules, but then I guess I live a very isolated life, so I was thankful to not have to make a lot of those decisions, but a lot of people with different lives having to make those decisions, not so much if they're living with or they see their grandparents regularly. That becomes a thing. It's I was working with a lad who was in that situation, so he was living incredibly differently to maybe even how he'd want to, but it's the decision you've got to make, I guess. But fuck all that shit. That was depressing nonsense.
Yeah.
How did you get into drawing then? Because you didn't do it at uni. That was sound.
No, I didn't do it at uni at all. Well, like I always really liked it when I were really little, but I think I just sort of got. I think there's definitely like a thing that I don't think is quite as common now, but when I was a kid, it was like, I wanted to do. Like, I can remember the first thing I remember wanting to do was I wanted to do like animation stuff, and I can just remember like my folks just sort of being like, "That's not a real job. You can't do that. Like that'll be really boring, blah blah blah," and all the rest of it, and sort of talked me out of it. And I always like doodled and stuff, like when I was like younger, but I only really started drawing a lot like when we took on the Royal Park, and I was just like we need posters, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and like at first I was just sort of like so I'll have to see if I can dig out some of the early Royal Park posters because they're fucking so bad.
Do it.
They're like so embarrassing.
Do
like,
you know what? I started posting some old stuff to Instagram recently.
Right. No, I clocked that. Yeah, it was cool. Like, I remember a lot of those gigs actually.
But some of them posters though, it's like there was I won't even. But like they're just as you say, it's just fucking bad.
It's just like people like because I did it as well. It'd be like making posters on Publisher, like like cutting out band names, like with the background of the like of the CD that they put together or whatever, and just like smashing it together. Like
I've got like my first all the shit I did early doors was all literally cut and paste because I didn't have like I had
a Photoshop or anything.
No,
that's it.
I had like the photocopier at the top of the road, and I would just literally just create like a thing, then reduce that down, create like a template with 4 of those things. And then that was the master template, and you're away.
Like smash it together.
And then you sneak it into an office and try and copy as many as possible. But
I had like
all them days. I used to fucking love doing all that stuff.
Yeah, that were it. Like I used to do loads of shit just on PhotoBucket. It had like this really poor like photo editor.
Have you been getting those emails then saying they're gonna delete your account for like 7 years? It was just like, for a solid 2-year period, every week it was a new PhotoBucket email where we're going to delete your account.
Here we go again.
Yeah.
It was like, and then like, so like after a while I just like smashing stuff together and hoping for the best. I was just like, oh, actually maybe I should like try and draw some stuff, and then like just sort of gradually over time just sort of kind of got my head around it a little bit better. But I was just sort of doing most stuff. Had like this Wacom tablet thing, so I'd just sort of like just sort of draw most of the stuff on there. Like it was just like I think I got it off eBay for like 30 quid.
What year would that have been like? Because I wanted to touch on like because like you put a lot of your tattoo designing on your Instagram, and I fucking love seeing all of that come together, but. It's that thing that I've seen in the scene there's a lot of, obviously with the whole tablet stuff now, everyone does via tablets, and it just feels like it's opened the floodgates to basically so many more people that wouldn't have had the sort of technical abilities to do it before. And it feels like those are the sorts of things, like I've got just down there, I think I've got the same light box that you've got. And like I remember when I first discovered the light box, and it just because up until I discovered that, I was just using like those clip frames, photo clip frames. I'd buy a big
shining a light.
I'd buy a big clip frame from Wilkinson's, sit with it on my knees, and put a lamp underneath. And just do that for tracing with.
Like I had this really this glass top table that I think I had it in my mum's house, and it was like. On the underside of it, it was just like completely congealed from when I used to be like a proper chain smoker, and it was just like this horrible like yellow grub all around the bottom of it. And I used to just like use that instead.
Well, I couldn't. That would have been amazing for me, but I could only do it for like I think 15 minutes at a time because it would just overheat, and the glass was too thin. So the glass would get so thin and heated up. I'd just be like having to stop and. But yeah, it's. But that the Wacom, I remember them early doors.
So it was like one of the So I think now they're dead fancy. They've got like a screen on and stuff. Or I mean, people don't even use them anymore, do they? They just use iPads.
iPad,
So, but like this was, it was basically just like a grey rectangle, and you had your pen, but like it was mad because on the screen, you couldn't like turn it round. You know what I mean? So like you had to like, if you wanted to like do something against the arc of your hand, you just had to draw it unnaturally.
Yeah.
But I think actually that ended up being really useful because it's meant that now when I'm tattooing, it's like,
Oh, okay.
like you can't just pick your customer up and turn them around. You know what I mean? So it has actually meant that I can, like, I've got a bit more control than I probably would have done, you know, like
no,
otherwise.
absolutely,
or whatever.
yeah.
But I mean, like, I was really stupid with that thing anyway, because I didn't figure out that you could rotate the canvas on Photoshop for about 4 years, I think, when I was doing that. Suddenly found the button one day, I was just like, holy shit, I can like move it around now.
I think
like,
that's the thing when it's like the way we've done it. Well, I'm assuming the way we probably approach most things in life, and it's just like
smash your head against it until
just see how you can do it. Basically, I mean, that's just what all this show is. This thing here, I'll show you sometime how I did that sign, and it's like it's an entirely like, I figure if I do this, then this, then this, that'll make sense.
Yeah,
I've got a pal who's a sign painter, like professionally, and I could probably like have a conversation with him, and just it would be so much easier to just do it with a bit of common sense professional advice. But that thing of like just finding your own way, it's
you don't even think about it though, do you?
No,
it's just like,
you
all right,
just do
like,
it.
here's the problem.
Yeah.
What solution can I manage to like pull out of my hoop, like, and then just
with what little resources I've got.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? Like, but I think, I don't know, like there's a charm to it, isn't there? And it's just like, you know, things won't always be good, but like, you know, at some point they might be all right.
Yeah,
and that's like, that's good enough for a lot of people.
It's the DIY way.
Yeah,
I think that's what I'm connecting the dots with a lot of the time, is that people that have come from that scene, that have like, say, been in the bands, they know the DIY music scene, but then they're doing other things now. That shit follows them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
it doesn't matter what it is in life, whether it's kitchen work, whether it's office work, or just anything. Yeah. It's a definite approach. I think it's almost that like you've found that you kind of modelled your way through this before, so maybe that's how you try everything now.
Yeah, that's it. Well, like, yeah, because like I certainly had, like, I think I had about a year of just like, it just seemed like everything that I'd tried was just sort of not really getting anywhere, or just sort of, you know, I had like some pretty bad luck for about a year, and I was just like, fucking hell, like, I spent all these years going off and doing all these things, and like none of it had like really felt like it sort of amounted to much, you know what I mean? And I was like, I got in a pretty like self-pitying sort of way about it, and then like when it actually came to sorting out the tattoo shop and stuff, it was just like, as soon as we started, it was just like every single thing that I needed to know how to do, aside from the tattooing bit, but you know, like just like setting up the business and like, you know, doing the fucking decorating and like doing all the web design stuff and making sure that we had all the stuff that we needed, you know what I mean? Like all of these things, it was just like, oh shit, I know how to do that. And it was just like, oh, I know how to do that as well. Like I've already done this, like, you know, like I know how to format a, you know, like a logo design onto a screen printing setup, you know what I mean? You know, it's just like, you know, it was just
but
like,
I think it's all of those, the minutiae of all of those things that you don't have to pay out is the point, isn't it? So suddenly
it's just like a load of little bits that I just sort of thought was wasted time over the years, and I was like, you know, like sulking about it basically, and I was just like, oh, actually, I haven't been wasting my time, because I've learned various small, seemingly useless tasks that have just like come together to mean that like this whole that whole thing wasn't anywhere near as much of a nightmare as it probably should have been, you know, like just because you know, like just been prattling around doing like various silly things for years.
Wow,
you know,
that's what life is. So when did Crawe, the tattoo studio, come together then?
So that were just over 3 years ago, so like
2019.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because because we had, I think we had it. Yeah, because we signed for it in February, but we had a couple of months for doing the decorating and stuff, because it was a bit fucked when we got in there. And then we had it for 3 years, and then we've signed up for the second 3-year lease, like around like June.
And this is with your lass.
Yeah, with Tasha, yeah.
Tasha.
Yeah, and Sally Wren, she's called on the internet. It's just the three of us. Like, it's really nice. Like, we're just like, it's very calm.
So how did that come about though? Because nice, you know, you were new to the shtick, obviously. So Tara, I guess, was looking for that, or
well, so
Tara
like,
and Ren, and
so like Tasha had been working for
Tasha.
like so like she'd been tattooing for what, like 8 or 9 years.
Okay,
I think. I'm so bad. I'm so like time is just very difficult. I don't really understand it. But she'd been tattooing for sort of 9-10 years, and then you know, it sort of got to the point where it's just like, all right, you know, it's
I imagine she was cajoling you to get into it as
Yeah,
well, for like
it's-
just seeing your actual ability. It's
well, I mean, because I think it was just that, like, so she, you know, she wanted to do her own thing, but then obviously, like, she had the tattooing down, but just didn't really know much of the other stuff. And then I had the other stuff down and didn't know about the tattooing, so it was just like, right, well, if you really want to do this, then tell you what, I'll do the other stuff. You teach me to tattoo. We'll meet in the middle, and we'll just sort of like do the thing. And like, yeah, I think, you know, like, it worked out pretty well, because I think, like, you know, if I'd have wanted to go down the sort of more traditional apprenticeship route, like, I'd never really had the amount of time that you'd need to be able to, like, you know, like, just, you know, go work at a shop for nothing for 6 to 8 months before anyone will even let you look at a machine, if at all. You know, like, and also I think because I've sort of got my own way of doing stuff, like, you know, I don't really have that much interest in, like, learning how to, you know, do, like, realistic lions with blue eyes sleeves, or, like, you know, which I'm sure would be, like, very useful, you know, in some ways.
Well,
but,
you know,
like,
financially, possibly, but that's
but,
a different thing.
You know, like, so I think, you know, I feel like, but yeah, like, really lucky that that ended up being an option for me, you know, like, because, like I said, you know, I've been sort of, I mean, like, the whole reason that I worked for the convention for a couple of years was sort of, you know, with the hope of kind of, like, you know, getting into it through that way, but, you know, I just sort of didn't, you know, like, didn't really work out.
So how long had you wanted to, or had a curiosity around the tattooing then?
Well, I think, to be honest, like, I think, like, after a couple of years of Tasha doing it, I was just like, oh, actually, shit, that'd be really good. But, like, also, I was really scared, you know what I mean? Like, it was a really, like, nerve-wracking thing, and I think, like,
well, you're inducing pain on people. That's a fucking...
Yeah, and you can't fuck it up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, like, you can't fuck it up.
It's a hell of a lot of self-confidence you got to have.
Like, you know, you got to really commit.
Yeah.
To doing stuff. So, like, you know, I think I really liked the idea of it, but, you know, it also terrified me quite a lot.
Yeah.
But then it was like, I think what really sort of kind of pushed me over the edge with it was, like, you know, like, after I sort of made the decision to fuck off drinking and stuff. And, like, that was really hard, you know what I mean? It was really hard to do. It was, like, a massive part of pretty much every sort of social interaction that I had up to that, you know, from being a teenager up to that point. Yeah. And it wasn't an easy thing to do. But then, so, like, after that, I was just like, well, fucking hell, if I can manage that, then, you know, like, stabbing people for a bit during the day, like, you know, it's probably not that bad, you know what I mean? Like, it made it a little bit easier anyway. Or at least it, like, took a bit of the edge off, like, you know, that kind of, you know, the sort of fear aspect of it a little bit.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, it's still fucking nerve-wracking, but, you know, it's just like...
Well, no, but you're new to it, though, so...
Yeah. It's just like, you know, well, it's the same as, like, playing gigs and stuff, you know, you gotta have a bit of a deep breath, have a bit of a word with yourself, you know, kind of, like, shake yourself off. And it's just like, right, okay, and here we are.
It's a beautiful moment when you get to that stage when you realise you're not nervous doing gigs and shit. Like, it took a few years, I don't mind admitting, but, like...
Yeah. Well, because it's like... It's a brutal thing to put yourself through, and it's just like, and when it's good, you know, like, there's nothing as good as it.
I know,
and when it's bad, it's like
it takes years.
It really
for it
fucks
to be,
it.
But it's really like just like you're not good for a long time unless you know. Like, there's definitely
you're not good a long way past when you think you are.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You're not,
but like everyone's first gig, there's the people. I don't doubt people played their first gigs and been the bomb.
Yeah.
But like, fuck me, them first gigs, they're not good.
Nah.
I don't envy people having to do them.
I think, like, one of my first gigs, this was horrible. So, like, it was like, it's probably about sort of 17, and it was like one that was like, it was at the Cardigan Arms, it was.
Oh, you're a Leeds lad then?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, from, well, like, my first house was behind the Brood Mill.
Oh,
like on Thornbull Street, yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, it was kind of weird, but like, so like the Royal Park, we were actually
I was going to say that's like
was my mum's local.
Could see your fucking bedroom from a.
Yeah. It was mad. Like, but yeah, so like one of my first gigs were at the Cardigan Arms, and like still when I had like right long hair, and like it was literally like within the first song, I sort of threw my hair back like that, breathed in, and I literally just breathed in a foot of my own hair. Like, and it just went straight down my gullet, and I just like instantly vomited, like just so instantly, It was just like straight away, and it basically like because all my hair had just sort of collected sieve like over my chops, and I just sort of, it could have just sprayed
Yeah.
like a kind of like fine mist over the entire drum kit, which wasn't mine, and like the back of the rest of my band, and like sort of no one really noticed. It was kind of weird, and like I managed to keep playing,
Yeah.
and whatever, but then like had to like go around and like mop up.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, like just to
First gigs.
Yeah, just they're not always they're not always the one, are they?
Yeah, but no, it's really, really awesome to see that like you and your lass like coming together and making this thing work.
Yeah.
Albeit for the sake of getting through the COVID nonsense, because I guess you were doing that for what, 9 months?
Yeah, that was some bad timing, really, because it was just like finally, like, you know, like because it was like straight away.
There's been worse time, and I've seen a lot of people that were like setting up businesses just as it dropped.
Yeah.
Actually, speaking of
hell.
our Theo from Antares, he'd spent years.
He's doing his pilot's stuff.
That was it. Yes, he got his pilot's license. Was training to be a pilot, and then literally was going to start with Jet 2, and I think it was in March when he was going to be starting, and so there's definitely you at least had a decent run at it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it could have definitely been a lot worse. I think from my point of view, it was just like, oh, I finally got the thing that I wanted, and then it was just like, no, you haven't, fuck off. But I mean, it was, you know, like, I mean, this is the same for.
Well,
for everybody, you know, like nobody wanted that to happen.
No, everyone had their story. I think that's one of the. It's a weird thing to say the nicer elements of COVID, but it's one of the more unifying elements of COVID is that everyone
shared trauma.
Everyone got shat on, and everyone had their own version of it, and it doesn't matter like what level of it was, because everyone kind of appreciates we all kind of got shat on.
Fucking hell, yeah. Good God, what a weird time, but yeah.
During the lockdown, though, it seemed from looking over your work, it seemed like your style really evolved into what you're doing now.
Yeah, I think just because I was just painting like all the time, you know, like, so yeah, like I guess going back to what we, you know, like the sort of art chat that we were having, like when I started tattooing, I just like I've made a bit of a decision to just like completely come away from digital stuff. I was just, I think just because it just makes me so angry when it doesn't work properly, and I'd just be like sat there just being like,
I was going to go for the high road of I don't like the clean lines, I don't like the perfectionism, I like a bit of raw hand drawn. Be like, no, technology go fuck itself.
Oh mate, honestly, it was just like,
seriously, this is why
I used to just get like, I swear, like I'd still have hair if it wasn't for Photoshop. Like it just does mad shit. It'll just be like, you'll use it every day for a week, and then it'll just do something. It's just
Paint.net.
Right, yeah.
That's all I use. Back in the day when I do flyers, when we finally graduated from cut and paste to the computers, it was always Word and Paint. And even to this day, I'll still use like fucking Paint.net. But I was going to say with this thing, I started doing this show last year.
Yeah.
And I got the first episode done, and it was like, oh shit, I've done it. It was a thing that I wanted to do. I've managed to do it myself.
Yeah.
And then just all technology bullshit, and just how long it took the editing, and then my technology packed up, and I lost the video editing package, and just all of those the bullshits that come along with it. It's just it takes it away from being able to just, if this was possible to do in an analog fashion, you know, like away from the digital, I'd entirely do it. But
it's just because it's just nothing works all the time, does it? So it's just like, you know, you'll kind of be at a position where you think that you've finished with something, and then like notice that something's formatted wrong, or like, you know, there's just like one big dirty line down the middle of it that's just like come from nowhere 10 saves ago, and there's just like you've got to sit and sort it, you know what I mean? So like I was just like, I think like I really enjoy drawing, however, but you know, like when it's, you know, like just in a pad or like on some paper or whatever, like I find it like I can literally just like, I'll start and then 6 hours will go by and I'll have forgotten to eat.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I've done loads, and it's like really, like I find it like really relaxing, whereas like on the computer, it'd just be like, I'd sort of just get into the swing of it, and then, you know, it'd do something, and then I'd just be like a ball of molten rage.
Do you not get like the hand cramp, or is that something you just elevate through when you're a professional? Because my hands were not good. When I do a lot of the sort of the illustrative stuff, after however many hours or whatever, it would, I'd have to go at it and take like a 15-minute break every once in a while.
Oh yeah.
Or is that just me?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty normal. Like, I mean, I guess I think just because I did I always had a bit of a habit of just sort of getting lost in what I'm doing. So like I didn't. I think you just sort of get used to it a little bit after a while. It's just like I mean,
I guess the muscles will strengthen as well. It's I only ever did it. It was like occasional things here and there.
Yeah.
But it's I guess if you're doing it on the daily, then it's a muscle that will build.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's just like just you kind of just get used to it. I mean, like I still get like from the machines and stuff like my hands get a bit jammed. Yeah. Like I mean, I haven't had any massive issues with that so far.
But yeah, I think with the style progression though, and it seemed it was, as you say, the painting, but it was the move away from the sort of the dot style shading and into that like the brush, the Indian paint or
it's just like spit shading on watercolor paper.
And I should say, like, I'm a total like tattoo outsider, so I'm not like I don't know styles and things, and I don't know. I basically know nothing about the whole thing, but like seeing your picks come together and that like that shaded element really feels like you've kind of taken ownership of. Almost like that's if I saw something and it was that style, but then it had that like shaded element to it. It's like, oh yeah, that's Miles.
Right. Yeah.
Was that something you saw consciously come in? That you consciously preferred that over the dots style of shading, or
I was only ever really doing the dots just because I didn't know how to do the more because I guess like the sort of stuff that I'm doing now, it's like sort of traditional techniques, but through a kind of like Cartoon Network sort of lens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I just didn't know how to do it before. Like I didn't really know how to paint flash properly
so
or
it's
whatever.
Just learning the thing.
And like I was just like, right, I need to figure out how to do that, and then just like figure that out. And I was just like, as soon as that happened, I was just like, right, dots can. Like I mean, like some people do amazing work with dot works and whatever, but like it's just not really.
Yeah.
For the sort of thing that I was sort of aiming towards, and like it just sort of happened that. I guess just because we had months of just sitting around, so I was just like, right, I'm just going to sit and paint until I've got my head around that, you know what I mean? And just sort of like went off. And to be honest, like I think, like actually having that break away from being at the shop was probably actually, in retrospect, was actually a good thing in some ways, like because I just really focused on trying to figure out what it was that I actually wanted to do, and like how to sort of. How to approach it, you know what I mean?
If that's where that style kind of came in, I mean, you can argue that like it probably you'd arrived there eventually, but
yeah. I mean, there's definitely like, I've got like, there's a bunch of tattoos who are like I really really like, and like I feel like I sort of borrow elements from like a lot of different sources, you know what I mean?
Okay.
So like,
how would you describe your style then?
I don't really know. I mean, it's like, it's just...
So it's all black. There's no colour in what you do.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess it's just like, it's like really loosely like traditional, but it's not traditional at all because it's just whatever silly nonsense I pull out.
I was going to say, it's got like, it's all, almost, when I see the eyes in your work, it almost feels kind of Japanese, Chinese, Eastern type terror.
Right.
Like, it's, like that. I guess that I'd seen before a definition of the difference between terror and horror.
Right.
And horror is like when you get scared, and terror is when you you don't know what it is that's going to fuck with you.
Right. Yeah.
And there's something about the eyes that you're drawing that kind of bring to mind like sort of just some sort of Eastern terror almost. Right. There's a maniacalness to just how lacking of focus or clarity they are. But then the work overall, it's got a very like go back to that word again, irreverent. It's very very silly. Squiggly. Squiggly is a word I'd associate with your work.
Yeah.
Squiggly, silly terror.
That's exactly it. You nailed it.
There we go.
No, it's just like I think like again like I'm just really into. I mean, there's loads of tattooers that I really like. There's loads of illustrators that I really like, from sort of back in my day doing that. And then, like I've always like, I was just like really into like, Cartoon Network stuff when I was a kid, and just like, just really sort of wacky like 90s gross
distorted limbs, and like the nose elements of your work seems to be very exaggerated and sort of flowy and
like and all that sort of like 1930s like Fleischer animation stuff, like 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 all that sort of like rubber hose stuff.
I don't know that.
You definitely know it if you saw it. It was just like just
like
like the old sort of, sort of like around that kind of time, like so like all that sort of
Yeah.
19 like the really old like black and white stuff where like all the cartoons were
I
like
can visualize it.
for
Yeah,
kids,
yeah,
but
yeah.
like they were just like weird, really like bad trip, like kind of just like this really sort of like, you know, like, and all the characters would be like smoking loads and like gambling and carrying on and like, you know, it's just like really trippy, and it was sort of before I think people had figured out like what was appropriate for children or not, and it was just like and then, you know, I guess like in more sort of recent times, you know, like stuff like Adventure Time and whatever I really like, and I was like really into like video games as a kid, you know, like I was like well into like Nintendo stuff when I was like younger, and like I feel like all these little bits and pieces are just sort of kind of smashed together in this sort of like weird, you know, I'm having fun. I'm just like,
so I guess because a lot of your work is all of your work, you're not taking people coming off the street and saying I want this, your work is your work.
I think I'm dead lucky with that. It's just
okay.
I think pretty much everything I do now, it's just I still do custom stuff, but it's sort of under the proviso that it's going to be, you know, like
your style, something that they've commissioned you to come up with.
It's just like, you know, like, so if it's, you know, if somebody asked me for like a full colour portrait, I'd love to be able to do it, but I just like wouldn't be able to do it. Like my brain don't work like that. But like most of the stuff that I'm doing now, I'll just sort of do a painting and put it on the internet and just be like, this is available if you want it, and then, you know, sometimes people take them, sometimes people don't.
It seems to be working though, because you put up just today that you'd had a day of work that had fallen through, and literally like it seemed like half an hour later you'd been snapped up already. That
was really lucky.
Well, I mean, you say lucky, but you know,
it's just, well, you know, like I think,
what's that, it's one of them bullshit sayings, but it's kind of true, of luck is where opportunity meets experience, I think it is.
Right.
So like it's I guess what it is.
Well,
and I guess that's what
I
it
feel
is.
like just fortunate, you know what I mean? That's the case.
Well, because you're not an knobhead, but
no, come off it. I'll try. But that I think like I've been having a bit more of that recently, but I think it's just because my wait's a little bit longer now than like there's just, you know, like
it's a bit more security,
like people are just like, oh, actually, like, you know, rather than wait, you know, sort of 3-4 months for something. If they catch it, they'll just be like, all right, well, I'll just come in. And I guess it works out good for me, because
and I guess it's also kind of
thumbs all day, you know,
keeping a buffer between you and the worst of what you kind of hear of the tattooing experiences. Well, the tattooists' experiences, when you hear those like, oh, people wandering off the streets and having to deal with whatever they've requested, and it almost feels like if people are kind of, they're aware of you and they've selected something of yours from your account that they actually want to have on them, and that they know who you are, that it's going to ensure that you're kind of cutting out a lot of the potential bullshit that tattooists could potentially have to deal with daily.
I mean, I think like it's kind of weird because it like is, you know, as far as I can gather, and from like, you know, a bunch of sort of things that I've listened to with like more experienced tattooers and conversations I've had with people when I've been getting tattooed and whatever, is, you know, there was like this time where, you know, being an all-rounder was like generally seen as the way to move forward, but it kind of seems like the consensus is now that like if you've got your own thing that you're doing, and like it's kind of, you know, like you're offering something that people can't necessarily get at every other shop around, then it's like it's a bit of a, it's the same with music as well, you know what I mean? It's just like it's a harder path because it takes a while to get people on board. But like if you come up with something or do something that's just like, you know, maybe less common, you know, I wouldn't dare to say that anything I've done is like unique or whatever, but it's just like,
no, but you've always been at the fringes.
Like it's just been purposefully weird, you know what I mean? And it takes a little while to get people on side, but then, you know, like I think like just over time, because no one else can really offer the same thing in the same way, you know what I mean? And it's just like, you know, I sort of feel like people kind of realise that, you know, like they sort of want like an artist that's doing something that's like, you know, just theirs, you know what I mean? And like
well,
also,
like I said, I've genuinely, and as I'm not like the knowing the tattoo art thing, but just seeing your work, and it's it does feel yours.
Yeah, I mean, I just, there's definitely artists who I'm like really like heavily influenced by, you know what I mean? But yeah, I don't know, like it's a fun way to do stuff, innit? Like I think, I kind of like, again, like, I'd really love to be able to like, figure out how to, I don't know, like do like, I don't know, like Chicana, like script and stuff like that, but I'm just
but
my brain just doesn't work like that, you know what I mean?
But you,
So
I mean,
if
you've got that like sort of curiosity in you, you're 3 years in, so it's a long old journey. What is it, 3 years in? Sorry, or long?
Yeah. So it's 3 years.
3 and change.
Yeah, 3 and a bit. So like I think I started tattooing myself in like sort of kind of April, like, but 3 years before. Okay. And then like I had my first paying customer November 3 years ago. So like, I'm sort of like coming up on the official 3 years bit, but then I was also like sat around fucking waiting for stuff to happen for some of that. So I don't really know where I am, and like on the whole ladder, I'm just like it just doesn't feel like.
Well, yeah, I guess
a simple answer,
as you were saying, because you've gone like the unconventional route into it.
Yeah.
But it's a long old life, and you're only 3 years.
There you go.
Yeah.
And also, I was listening to like an interview with this black and grey tattooer called Bob Tyrrell, and I was listening to this interview with him. It was dead sick, and it was interesting. And like, he was talking about sort of his life with it, and he was saying about how he started when he was 36. And like, I think I'd always sort of had a bit of a thing of just being like, fucking hell, I'm getting into this a bit late. But then like this, like he's in his late 60s now, and he's like just smashing it, like having a really nice time, sort of working all over the world, like sort of spending his time like going to gigs that he likes to go to, and he just generally seems to be like
living the life,
like living his best life. And it's just like, well, it's fine.
But no, we had Owen on here a few weeks back. Owen Namaster.
Oh yeah.
Spoke very highly of you.
Oh, bless him. He's a very sweet boy. Yeah.
He's the loveliest lad. But obviously he'd kind of gone into the bar scene like super late. Well, not super late, but compared to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it's a thing that kind of like a lot of people are doing. It feels that just if you've kind of got the options available to you, and I think maybe it's a generational thing where a lot of people our age didn't kind of just rush into a marriage or having kids or a stable career.
No can really afford to like that, it's all sort of eating itself a bit, hasn't it? Because it's just like,
it has to a degree, but it's also that thing of, if we are those people that have like been the footloose fancy free generation, it kind of leaves you open to just try these new things. And if if you're a curious soul and you've got that interest to try new things, and you can kind of break through that fear element, then
well, like, and again, sort of, like what I was saying earlier about how, in the sort of 90s and 90s, like none of these things were considered to be real jobs.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like having a bar wasn't a real job. Like, being an artist wasn't a real job. Like,
well, I mean, a lot of what I do is computer games testing.
Oh, really?
For my 9 to 5. So, a computer games tester.
Yeah, you tried to explain that to your nan in the 90s.
Exactly, yeah.
You get a clip round the ear and they'll tell you to get a real job.
I want to test games. That's what I want to. I want to play computer games for a living. It's like, I probably legit said that at some point because I was like the huge computer nerd as a kid.
Yeah.
But
but that's it though. Like, I can even remember like. Yeah, like just, I mean, even now, to be fair, like I think, some people in my family don't think I've got a real job.
Oh yeah.
I'm just like, that's fine. You can just think that.
Yeah.
Like, I'll crack on.
I see it talked on in sort of the comedians world of things.
Yeah.
And when they talk on it of like they do it, I guess they have to do it for like 10, 15 years before they get anywhere.
Yeah.
And just the way that their families kind of like change when they suddenly see them on TV or something, and it becomes like, oh, how's your little comedy career going? And suddenly it's, oh, I saw you on TV, and it's like, it just feels like there will be that moment where like, I've seen, aren't you like hitting the tattoo exhibitions or going to a few international expos?
Oh yeah, so like I was helping Tash and Lauren at London last weekend.
Okay.
And then I got invited to work at like the first edition of the Bruges one, which is like not this weekend, the weekend after.
Oh wow.
I'm hoping to go to more, but like again,
But
I'm
that's what I mean.
I'm still like
You
very new
post-
to it though.
You
know what I
post
mean?
that on
So,
Facebook, your family's going to shut the fuck up and be like, "Oh, this guy's international with his shit now." Oh yeah, I was invited to Bruges. It's 3 years in and you got that.
You'd think so, wouldn't you? But
I think as well, it's one of those situations where once you've got the in and you kind of, you're a good dude. So like people will want to work with you again.
oh, yeah.
It feels like that's, like it's, as you say, it's like you want to do more of that sort of thing. And the amount of connections you're going to make when you go over in a few weeks' time, it's, I can only imagine, like just...
Yeah, hopefully. I don't know.
Well, no, it's just by the nature of being there. And
Yeah.
like just being in the thing that you love and just chatting with people and being your authentic self. It's just the nature. It's exactly the same as it was for the band stuff, It's like you play a gig, you just are friendly with people because that's who you are, and then suddenly you get offered a gig somewhere else, and you never know what has led to whatever else it is in this life.
No, you are right. Like, yeah. I mean, I just think there's just no sort of linear paths with any of this stuff.
Oh no,
is it?
no, absolutely.
We're all kind of just, just sort of bumbling around in the dark, like just sort of hopefully something will happen at some point, and like we sort of glom onto that for a little bit, and then.
So you literally just like the plan is just to knuckle down and see what happens for the next sort of, I guess, 3 to 5.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, so like I've been trying to like do as many guest spots as I can do, just because, like it's just really good to have like an outside perspective on stuff. I think I've done like 4 this year, and like each time I've come away and I've like learnt something.
What are the sorts of things you're picking up?
Just like just like sort of seeing how people set this shit up, or like like how. Like just like positioning for customers and stuff like that, or like like just really getting into the nitty gritty about like machine talk and stuff like that, or like like what sort of needles people are using, or like what things not to do. You know what I mean? And it's just like that's like been really useful and whatever. So like, I think I've got 2 more guest spots this year, and then I'm taking a couple of months off it over Christmas just because I'm not great in winter anyway, and I think like the idea of just like traipsing around like with all my gear and just like being cold and wet and miserable, like it's just like I'm not really into it. But then like I think the plan is from like next year I'm just going to sort of try and do maybe like 1 a month, and I'm sort of like pretty much sorted up until summer next year doing that. So like, and then we've got like we've got like a bit of funk stuff going on. Next year we got like sort of got a new record to be working on, and like there's like a couple of tours going on next year. Just put out
an album, haven't you?
So they like recorded and released.
Oh, okay.
So they like recorded it during lockdown, and then it got like released. I think it was like in February.
Yeah.
This year, and then like I think like the idea is to like sort of try and like aim to be kind of recording again like sort of early next year, and whatever. So we got to like write all that stuff.
What is the deal with Thank then?
How do you mean?
I mean, just full stop.
Well,
because just listen to it is what.
All right.
You know what I mean?
Hey, I can't really take any credit for it.
Yeah, but
like,
it's wacky as hell. And it's, again, we can say the irreverent word again, but like it's very, very fucking niche.
Yeah, I don't really know what it is.
Yeah.
I think the only thing I know that it is it's like, for me anyway, it's just dead fun. Like it's just like really nice.
Whenever I see the clips online, it always looks like, I mean, aside from you just being the usual powerhouse, it's just all, it looks fun.
Yeah, that's it. They're just like, they're really, really lovely. They're like really like creative. They're like really funny, and like I mean, I don't know what. I don't really know how they sort of landed on what they've landed on, but it's just like for me, it's just like it's just it's just like really like, I guess like.
Is there even a genre? Because it's.
It's just like it's take away all the silliness. It's just pop songs in it, but like
not even
it's
though,
like
it's entirely it's weird.
It is weird pop songs, but like it is. I don't know, like it's just sort of like weird mix of like
everything.
I guess like noise rock and sort of anxious disco-y stuff, and then like actual noise.
Anxious disco. That's a hell of a genre.
I don't know. Like
But you know what I mean? No, it's like because
it's
seeing that you were doing it, or seeing their name about, and then seeing that you were doing it. So it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna check this out, and I had my assumptions as to what it was going to sound like, and then it was nothing like that at all.
Right.
And giving it an honest listen, and it was like, there's a lot of it I just really don't like the style of, but then there's other moments where it's like this, it just switches into something. As you say, it's like just creative kids trying some stuff.
Yeah.
And there was a lot in there that was like, okay, cool, I'm really into that sound. They've got locked into that groove or whatever it would be. It feels very experimental and very like Devil May Care, sort of just, we're going to just do this thing. There's no rules.
Yeah.
I think no rules is probably the most obvious genre.
Yeah. That's it. I mean, like the writing process, like it's just really cool. Like they just kind of just chuck a load of stuff together, and it's just like, all right, see where that goes, and then like
that's what I mean. That's what it's about, though. It's just like
after a bit, it'll just sort of like, something will just sort of come together, and it'll just be like, right, well, we're gonna glom onto that and sort of keep that together, and and it's just like, it's just, I don't know, it's just really fun. Like, it's just, I'm really glad that I'm getting to do something that is so fun, because again, like after because I think the other band that I've done that's been this sort of level of fun, we're doing Cattle, and obviously like after that sort of kind of just sort of ended, it's just like nice to be sort of back, doing something that's just like as much of a laugh as it is, and like just,
and they're active, and as you say, they're good people. I think it's all about like the people at the end of the day. Yeah,
defo. Yeah, it's just like easy to spend time with them,
nice.
And just like carry on, and I think and they've worked like really hard on what they've done so far, and it's like I'm just again like just feel like dead fortunate to have been to be able to do it. It's like a good laugh.
Cool.
And we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Like,
about to wrap it up, but let's go for a few top threes.
Oh God.
Getting out to gigs around the way. What do you reckon is the sort of the top three, I guess, punk, DIY or whatever venues that you'd get to?
What, you mean just generally?
Whether it would be like Leeds, Yorkshire, just your spots. What are you saying is the places people need to check out?
Oh God, I guess in Leeds it'd be like Wharf, Boom, and Damaged Goods now, I guess.
Is that the one in Armley?
Yeah, that's the new spot.
Yeah.
I reckon that place is gonna be seriously sick. Like,
what's the deal with it? I don't know anything about it other than it's there.
It's just kind of like, it's like a bunch of sort of band lockups, but they're sort of they've got like a gig space there as well, and like it just seems like they're just going to be doing lots of sick things there. So but it's like very very DIY, like to the point where they sort of built a bunch of the rooms in the unit themselves, like
nice,
and it's just like just kind of very like it just seems very sort of free, you know what I mean? Which is sick. There's like, it's kind of weird because like I guess I haven't really like, I've sort of been out and about a bit more than I have been for a bit. There's some like good spots over in Manchester as well. Like played at the White Hotel like a few months ago.
Never heard of that.
That place was really cool. Yeah, it's like I think it's in like Salford.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's normally like a sort of club sort of place, but they've got gigs on there, and like the PA's dead good, and it's just like kind of in this bit where it doesn't look like anything's happening, but then it's just like a sick venue there, and then like Hatch in Sheffield, like that spot's really cool, and like again like that's got a bit of a sort of chunk vibe, but without the practice rooms. Or maybe there is a practice room. I feel like it's getting to a point where there are like more of these little sort of semi-autonomous gaffs just sort of popping up.
No, because back in the day we always said that like if we could move the 1 in 12 brick by brick slowly to Leeds, we'd do it. And
that's it, yeah.
Because
the 1 in 12 is like just like an institution, isn't it?
It's fucking great, and I've seen that they're doing like there's Means to an End Fest.
Yeah, fucking hell.
Yeah, it's looking good, and there's some other stuff I've been seeing there, and we'd always made the effort to get to Bradford because it's 1 in 12. You gotta. But so many people just would never make the effort, and it's beautiful to see that slowly. Leeds has, like with Commonplace that became Wharf Chambers. That felt the first step towards it.
Wharf's amazing. Like like we've had some really good gigs there, like sort of recently, and then there's completely like rudely forgot about, but there's Mabgate Bleach as well. And like them lot are, again doing some really sick stuff down there. Like they should have been, like mentioned right
Have
away.
they still got like screen printing facilities and stuff down there? I remember.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, I remember.
Like, I think like.
It was a while ago though when I went down there for that.
Yeah, I think like.
But there was all sorts kicking
It's
off
like
down
like a
there.
few
Gig
practice
space
rooms and the gig
yeah.
space and stuff, and like yeah, like there was a few like banging gigs there like last month, and it was just like, oh yeah, like this is gonna, this is sick.
Who's doing? Who's good for DIY screen printing at the moment?
Oh, so I'd always use Discordant Sun.
Discordant Sun. Are they Leeds?
Yeah, he's Leeds based. So it's been mates with him for years and years, and like used to do a sludge band together a bit ago. But yeah, so like he like went straight to do a screen printing apprenticeship from school.
Oh, cool.
And it's just like his entire operation is just him.
Yeah.
And like I'm not just bigging him up because he's my mate, but
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
like every single t-shirt, he's pulled them by hand.
Yeah.
And it's just like his quality control is like right in the pocket, and his formatting is right in the pocket.
Yeah.
And like he can't, like because he's doing everything by hand, like it's like. You just know it's going to be good. You know what I mean? Like I don't think I've ever had to send a run back to him.
Oh, nice.
And like I think with like some of the more like commercial ones, like you
it's
get
worth,
entire orders through, and
it's
just
worth
be like,
shouting about this at the moment, obviously, because
well, yeah, because of that,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
of that thing that happened.
Yeah.
I mean, talking about that gaff, like I've used them for various things over the years.
yeah,
and,
awesome
like,
merch.
just had
But
to,
yeah,
like,
it's
just had
awesome
to, like-
merch. A friend of mine was actually working there until.
Oh really?
Yeah, and he was a worker and an investor as well.
Oh really?
So you got
Yeah,
double
because the
fucked.
investors got like.
Fucked,
Yeah, I don't know. Like it's just I mean, just places sort of using the clout of being grassroots and like actually just being like full on late stage capitalists. Like there you go.
Yeah.
Like not great. But I mean, like yeah.
But no, but as
like,
the point being though, it's
there
the
you go.
perfect time to be shouting out all of the DIY
Oh
spots
yeah,
that
definitely.
are,
Yeah. Like Joe does a seriously good job. Like he's so.
Oh, was
sick,
that
and
Joe
he's,
Hall?
Like, Joe Hall, yeah.
Oh, so you were in. Was it Cattle?
It was Croke with Joe.
Croke, sorry.
Yeah.
That was before Cattle, was it?
It's sort of around the same time, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like I think I was in Cattle before, but then like we were like I was in both those bands, like sort of neck and neck for about 5-6 years, I think.
Yeah.
I think that was it. Oh, again, time.
Again,
like,
yeah.
That's weird. But yeah, he's really good. And then like if you can't get through to him, there's like Vino Sangra, like down south.
Is
like,
it Norwich?
You know what? I think he's called Mikey. I'm pretty sure he's called Mikey.
You know that thing of like when you're in the band and you're at the whim of the promoter, hoping that you'll get a good poster out of it.
Right. Yeah.
And just most of the time it's garbage. But we played a gig in Norwich, and I'm pretty sure it was those guys.
Oh, really?
I can't remember who it was, but
Because I think he does design stuff as well. Like
and it was just this parchment paper poster, and it was just this sick design, and it was just like one of them like just things that I'm gonna keep for the rest of my life, And it was some bullshit DIY gig that no one's gonna remember, but it was a beautiful thing that I got from that. And it was
that's cool. Yeah.
I'll have to give it a look.
I really love a screen printed poster. It's just like it's just well special, isn't it? Like, it's kind of one of those things. Well, like not a lot of people really realise like how kind of sick and valuable they sort of are. You know what I mean? So you just it's well worth holding on to stuff like that, because then just like.
Well, I mean that's what that whole account was that I did recently, where it was just posting everything, just because I'm a hoarder. So I've got like that. Can you see it? There's a box just down the side there that's just filled with photos.
Really?
And the two.
That's cool.
These folders here are like old flyers.
Oh, sick.
So like, look at that nonsense.
That's amazing.
From Juvie Hall.
Oh shit! Yeah.
So
that was a Steve Hastwell's thing, wasn't it?
Yeah. Photos from the nights out, and look at that. It's Cardi Arms. Look at that bullshit flyer.
That's cool. I love shit like that.
Just so shit, but yeah, and as you're talking to like diverse bills, so you got like sort of Stoner Rock, Charlie Don't Surf Stoner Rock, Valhalla Pacifist, just thrash punk. Wants to Kill by Laser were like proggy, then Bonsai Kittens, Kitsch Pop, and No Excuse we were sort of pop punk. They were like pop punk ska kids that discovered metallic hardcore.
Right.
So
I'm pretty sure that I saw that band.
very weird,
Yeah,
but very fun.
I feel like
Again, it was back to they were the funnest fucking guys, and I loved doing that band.
Right,
but,
yeah.
Yeah, weird though.
Yeah, I was gonna say because I've definitely seen like a bunch of your bands over the years. Like, again, it all just sort of like
It's
melds
incestuously.
into one, though, doesn't it? Like,
Yeah,
like, that's really sick. But yeah, so like I think like as far as like those would be like the two DIY screen printers that I'd like recommend.
And let's piece it out with I guess tattooists in the area. If you're unavailable, who else is interesting or sort of coming up at the moment? Who's caught your eye that's worth shouting about that people aren't?
Oh bloody hell, that's like.
I mean, Tasha's got to get a mention.
Well, yeah, like so, like Tasha's like well,
Which is Crawe full stop.
well sick
Check
for
out
like
Crawe.
yeah, so like Tash does sort of like really like illustrative, like kind of I guess like neo trad stuff, but not in a kind of neo traddy way. I guess just like illustrative like tattoos, like really like kind of bright colours and like lots of sort of kind of British wildlife sort of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, and just like kind of she does like a lot of sort of like fantasy based art and stuff, and then Ren does more sort of like kind of delicate like dot work, kind of botanical stuff. It's just like like really nice, like really kind of subtle, like really well, like proper. Basically, those two are like
If I can,
like actual proper artists.
if I can
you know
work
what I
out
mean? Like,
the editing on this shit, then I'll try and drop in some visuals as you're talking on it.
Oh, that's very nice. And then like I guess like probably my favourite tattooer in the UK is probably Will Geary, who he did my hand and stuff.
Oh, nice.
He's like definitely like one of my kind of biggest like.
That does feel kind of reminiscent of what you were doing.
Oh,
But
yeah,
but more
definitely,
linear.
yeah.
It feels
Yeah.
a little less kind of crazy.
I don't know. Some of his stuff's like pretty wild. Like oh god, there's so many. Like it's really hard to like crack it down to just a few. Bloody hell. Yeah, that's really difficult. So I guess like, I mean, like I think I'd have to do it like not just locally, and then like I guess like my other sort of favourite tattoo is probably Ian Mullin. So he was from Scotland, but now he's based in Sweden, and he just does like I think his sort of speciality at the moment is he just does these mad free balls where he'll literally just take a big bit of person and he won't even get a transfer machine or a Sharpie or anything, and he'll just freehand but like, when people say freehand they normally mean just like drawing something on with Sharpie and tattooing over it. He's just like no, he's just like straight from table to farm to table, just gets his machine and he's just like way and like he
talk
just
about
does
mastering the
like,
fear of the.
but it's just like everything he does is so sick, and it's just like all these sort of weird characters with like he'll have like a big like janky face with like a tap coming out of its ear, and then like some sort of Escher style stairs sort of going around the back of it, and it'll just like like these kind of like Russian Orthodox towers and shit, and it's just like really cool. Like I think like
cool.
Yeah, like he's definitely up there as well. And then like other favourites, probably like Al Boy. Who
was it Al or Owl?
Al, like ALBOI, like he's like an Italian guy who does just like kind of everything sort of looks like it's kind of come from like an old Greek vase or something, but like in a sort of like it's kind of sort of everything's kind of gawky looking and a bit like odd, but like it's kind of like still somehow like kind of high art at the same time. Like it's really weird. Like his stuff's just like just dead interesting. And it'll be like kind of like typical tattoo subjects, but just like done in like is completely his own sort of way, and like and just like he does like a lot more colour work than like I'd normally have on me. But like I'd if I got the opportunity to get something off him, I'd be like all right, do some colour stuff, that'll be fine. But yeah, so there you go. I think
cool.
So I've like bigged up those two at the shop and 3 people that I like. So that's 5. You asked for 3, you got 5. There we go.
Right, well I reckon we'll leave it at that.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Parade of grafters.
ding